A dramatic scene in a North York neighborhood. Gun violence in the middle of the afternoon.
A car crash, a shooting victim, and a vehicle fleeing the scene. Police now trying to piece together exactly what happened. Good evening. We begin tonight with a developing story as witnesses share details of a wild scene. 2 men are injured after a car crash, one with a gunshot wound. CTV's Janice Golding joins us live from Stanley Green Boulevard and Downsview Park Boulevard with the details. Bring us up to speed, Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Well, in the last 10 minutes, police cleared away the vehicles that were involved in this crash. But if you like to look behind us here, you'll see a large pile of debris in the middle of the roadway that still has to be cleared from the crime scene, which is in the midst of a housing development on the northern outskirt of Downsview Park. Now, eyewitnesses tell us that it was around 1 o'clock when they heard the sounds of a large crash here on Stanley Green Boulevard at Downsview. When they emerged from their homes, they say they saw 3 cars. One man was lying to the left of a black sedan. CTV News has been told he was driving the vehicle and proceeded to exit the car and called out to onlookers for help, saying, "Phone 911. They also say he claimed he'd been shot. One eyewitness says she could see 3 areas where the man was injured. His right upper leg, his abdomen, and his head was also coated in blood. They say another man who was driving a gray SUV was also injured. CTV News has also seen images of a black sedan that was on the scene, but we are told 3 people were observed leaving before police arrived. One of them, a young man in a navy blue hoodie and gray sweatpants. We are told people who came out to help had asked the trio to stay behind to receive medical attention, but again, they fled. Here is more from witnesses.
I was just feeding my baby inside and I heard a loud bang. So I came out and looked. And then I just saw the 3 cars. There was a woman over there with her walking by with her daughter, and that woman was telling the people in the car and say, like, you can't go, you should go to the hospital. And then they just went in the car and they just left.
I hear the noise, right, the crash. And then after I come and see close, I see the guy on the floor, coming blood, him say something. People shoot me, but I don't hear nothing, I don't see. I see the guy run.
Yeah, it's a little bit unsettling being in the neighborhood that has so many kids and young families walking around. But, you know, it's a busy city and it happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Both drivers were rushed to hospital in non-life-threatening condition. Police are asking anyone who might have collected surveillance or dash cam video in the area to contact them as soon as possible. The investigation is ongoing. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Raheem.
Thanks, Janice. And there was another afternoon shooting today, this one in Scarborough. A teenager was injured after he was shot near Lawrence and Warden before 4 p.m. He was taken to hospital. His injuries described as serious but non-life-threatening. Police are now looking for 2 male teenage suspects seen fleeing the area.
And we're learning more about 2 suspects wanted in a deadly shooting at Yorkdale Mall last month. Police have issued Canada-wide warrants for their arrest. 23-year-old Brian Emmanuel Fuentes Gramajo of Longueuil, Quebec, and 28-year-old Jimmy Prudent of Montreal are wanted for first-degree murder. A third suspect, 20-year-old Bradley Lucate Nicholas, was arrested on Monday in Quebec and charged with first-degree murder. A 28-year-old man was gunned down and killed in the parking lot just after 6 a.m. on July 17th. He's been identified as Kashif Jamal Bentley Jean. Investigators say the shooters fled the area before officers arrived on scene. Anyone with information about the suspects are urged to contact police.
Just ahead, tunneling towards the Yonge North subway extension. New details in connecting commuters between Toronto and York region. However, a different project still doesn't have the green light. Why the Eglinton Crosstown LRT may not be running by September.
We turn to a devastating development for a pastor and her 2 children fighting deportation to Kenya.
This afternoon, her appeal was denied. Tonight, she and her family are being held in a detention center. Her supporters praying for a last-minute reprieve so she can stay. CTV's John Musselman joins us live with the story. John.
And Raheem, that looks like the only option right now to prevent them from going back to Kenya. As you mentioned, they are in detention tonight. The flight goes out tomorrow. Reverend Rosalind Wenyeki and her 2 children walked into a hearing today at the Canada Border Services Agency office in Mississauga. They did not walk out. Her request to defer a deportation order back to Kenya has been denied. She and her 2 daughters, aged 9 and 6, have been detained. The family must leave the country tomorrow. We spoke to her in a telephone call from inside the detention center. She says her children are frightened, scared, and don't understand what is happening.
Of course, they started crying immediately. We were told that we are not going out of the CBSA, so I had to calm them down.
Also not forgetting the trauma itself, what she's dealing with right now, the children themselves, the trauma they're dealing with right now, and the fragility of their age as well, that they have to kind of process all this all by themselves. They don't even understand what's going on, but they know they're at risk.
These documents obtained by CTV News show the flight leaving Pearson at 10:45 a.m. when Yeki, known to many as Reverend Hadassah, came to Canada in 2020 with her young children. They say they were forced to flee persecution from a powerful church leader in Nairobi. Over the past 5 years, the family has created a life in Toronto. When Yeki leads a ministry and her children attend West Hill Public School.
The community is grieving. We're calling on the immigration minister now and the public safety minister to step in. This is the only thing that can be done now.
Both their refugee claim and application for permanent residency under humanitarian and compassionate grounds have been denied. We reached out to both Immigration and Canadian Border Services. They won't speak to specific cases, citing privacy. Quote, we require written consent from individuals before we can disclose information about their cases to the media. A spokesperson for Canada Border Services Agency wrote, quote, the agency carries out removals based on a risk management regime. There are multiple steps built into the process to ensure procedural fairness, and the CBSA only actions a removal order once all legal avenues of recourse that can stay a removal have been exhausted. And just for some context on numbers, the CBSA says more than 45 people a day are deported out of this country. For the children in this case, though, they came to Canada when they were 1 and 4 years old. They have no memories of Kenya. All of their life has been here in Canada. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Still ahead, a summer home sales surge. Buyers off the sidelines and back in the market. We'll break down the July numbers and what's happening with selling prices.
Well, also soaring high are the smoke and haze through the GTA sky. Conditions have certainly improved over recent days, but we are also dealing with heat and humidity. Let's bring in Jessica Smith now for a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Raheem. No, we're not under any statements or warnings right now. But again, as you mentioned, it doesn't mean we're not still contending with that wildfire smoke. And we're seeing it quite widespread across the province due to fires in northern Ontario. Now, a wind direction change later in the week is going to help. But for now, we're still dealing with it. As it moves out of our area, it moves east and towards eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, and eventually Atlantic Canada. We have seen a few pop-up showers, but no real organized activity as far as a bigger downpour. Temperature-wise, we're still holding on kind of in that mid-20 range, feeling in the low 30s. It's still hot. It's still humid. That does not change at all as we head in towards the overnight as well. Looking ahead to the weekend, we're likely to fall into heat warning criteria, so something to think about when it comes to your outdoor plans. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll talk about just how hot it is going to get. But right now, I'll send things back over to Raheem and Michelle.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, did the summer sun help heat up Toronto's housing market?
New real estate numbers indicate the city saw its best July home sales in years. And if you're looking to buy, there were improvements in affordability, too. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live with all the details. Beth.
Michelle, sales have picked up, and I'm even hearing about some deals out there. Lower prices are helping make purchases a little more attainable. Cheryl Coolidge calls it the Time Warp House. Her parents purchased the Scarborough property almost 70 years ago for less than $13,000. But this spring, it came time for her 96-year-old dad to move into a care facility. And after 56 days, it sold for $825,000.
Selling it now and getting what he got for it, I think he's happy with it. Yeah, it's a hard market, and I'm just happy it's gone for the guy.
According to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, Gulich is one seller reaping in the benefits of a jump in home sales, reporting this July has been the best one in 4 years, citing an improvement in affordability thanks to lower trending prices and interest rates.
And that's important given the economic uncertainty that we've seen over the past few months, because we actually would have expected to see more activity earlier on in the year. So this suggests that perhaps we'll see a stronger fall and moving into the winter.
The board says July sales rose 13% compared to June and nearly 11% compared to July last year, with the average selling price down 5.5% compared to a year ago to $1,050,000.
Things do change week over week. Buyer sentiment can change month over month.
Agent Caitlin Hartley helped with Gulich's sale. She says the summer market has felt much more like a traditional spring market and is feeling the bump.
A lot of buyers that have come out of the woodwork that have expressed interest in wanting to go out and start shopping again, getting pre-approved, that I've spoken with maybe a year and a half ago about this idea of making the move, but that apprehension at the time about the marketplace and there being no stability. And I think now there's been a lot more engagement.
He's okay. Yeah. He's okay.
Gulich says when selling, it's important to have a good broker and agent and manage expectations.
I got a good price for the house. I got a fair price. I think houses are inflated a lot still, and I feel so sorry for the young people trying to buy. I really, really do.
The board says despite the uptick in sales, it's still waiting to see more first-time home buyers enter the market, as they are the most sensitive to interest rates.
The board hopes to see affordability improve this year, which will see more renters looking to enter the market. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. An Ontario court has approved the sale of the El Macambo. Former Dragon's Den star Michael Weckerly bought the legendary concert venue in 2014 for $3.8 million and spent about $35 million on extensive renovations. However, court documents filed earlier this year showed the businessman had defaulted on nearly $56 million in loans tied to the property. The sale to a company controlled by an executive at Brookfield Asset Management is expected to close in the coming weeks. Weckerly called the sale of the venue very important to its future.
Police are investigating a suspected arson this morning after flames broke out at a mushroom dispensary on Yonge Street near Wellesley. Firefighters were called to the business just after 3:30. Fire crews described it as a small debris fire. The flames were quickly extinguished and police moved in to investigate. No one was injured.
We are one step closer to a more connected GTA tonight. The province celebrating what they're calling a milestone in the Yonge North subway extension.
But as that plan moves forward, questions remain about another transit project that's been stalled for years. CTV's Natalie Johnson reports.
Riding up the Yonge line, these transit takers are forced off at Finch. But one day they'll be staying on the subway right up to Richmond Hill.
If it's fast, it can be great.
I think it's worthwhile to do that because I've been waiting here for 50 minutes.
The Premier announcing today progress on the plan to extend the Yonge line 8 kilometers north.
Folks, this is a major milestone.
The awarding of the contract to design and build the twin tunnels that will take the subway well into York Region.
The change it's going to bring to the communities, jobs, it's going to be a game changer. And I think the investment now will pay dividends in years to come.
To be able to tell our residents that we're not just talking, we're actually getting literally shovels in the ground, tunnel boring machines in the ground. Again, it's such a great day, and I'm looking forward to riding this subway line in the not-too-distant future.
As for when the Yonge subway extension will be ready to ride, no timeline being given on that just yet. At this point, the opening date on the minds of many has to do with the Eglinton LRT and whether a September opening is still realistic now that it is just a few weeks away.
Transit officials have been running trials on the years-late Eglinton line, assessing the availability and reliability of the vehicles in peak capacity.
Everything is dependent upon safety and reliability. I am happy that we are discovering right now the things that have to be fixed before we open this line, as opposed to discovering them when the line is open.
But the new head of Metrolink says if all goes to plan, the transit agency could be a few weeks away from wrapping up trials and making it official.
If that works, then we will declare substantial completion of the project towards the end of September.
A transit timeline that some riders say can't come soon enough.
When you go to New York, even Montreal, like all these other major cities, I feel like the transit system's way more vast and complex.
While here at home, it's trials and tunnels to lengthen the lines and add more to the map. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
To the latest now on the trade war with the United States. The Prime Minister was back in Ottawa today, meeting with his cabinet and the premiers.
The meetings took place as two top cabinet ministers are still in Mexico, resetting Canada's trade relationship with America's southern neighbor. CTV senior political correspondent Mike Lecouteur reports.
Prime Minister Carney, which counter-tariffs? The Prime Minister was tight-lipped a day after saying he'd consider removing some counter-tariffs on American goods if it would help Canadian industries. While saying he supports Mark Carney, Ontario Premier Doug Ford has a different take.
You can't have tariffs on one side and not the other. I still stand by what I say. Dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. They understand strength, not weakness.
He was planning to deliver that message this afternoon as the premiers held a virtual meeting with the Prime Minister. Once it ended, Ford's message to Canadians is to buckle up for a rough road ahead.
I'm praying that everything's going to go fine. But if it doesn't, I'm going to ask the people, do you trust President Trump? I don't.
In recent days, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has called for Canada to remove or reduce counter-tariffs on all American goods. Some feel like the countrywide resolve is being tested.
As this has dragged on with no obvious resolution in sight, some of that determination is flagging a bit.
In an interview with CTV News on Tuesday, the U.S. ambassador to Canada cautioned that trade talks could be slow over the next weeks as U.S. President Donald Trump focuses on a deal with China. And that's why some trade experts believe Canada should refrain from retaliating.
I do think we have to hold something like a retaliation as a threat in case Trump does decide to hit us with something else.
And one example of that unpredictability, President Trump announced an additional 25% tariffs on goods from India because that country is importing Russian oil. India's tariff rate could rise to 50%. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, the Conservatives continue to lead all federal parties in fundraising. The Tories brought in just over $9.1 million in the quarter that ended in June. That was through donations from more than 82,000 people. That outpaced the Liberals, who raised $7.7 million from more than 116,000 donors. The NDP lost official party status in the election, but its numbers have been steady this year, with more than 38,000 people donating $1.9 million in the last quarter.
There could be significant turbulence ahead for thousands of Air Canada passengers. The union representing the airline's flight attendants has a mandate to call a strike if a new contract isn't negotiated in 10 days. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
Mike Abraham has booked a flight to Slovenia for a bike tour. He's scheduled to take off just as Air Canada's flight attendants are poised to strike.
Even if I was to actually try to rebook it now with either with Air Canada or with a competitor, say a European airline, the price would be at least 3 times as much.
Air Canada's 10-year contract with its 10,000 flight attendants is expiring. The union representing the workers says better wages and working conditions are needed. Flight attendants average 35 hours of unpaid work each month.
We're not paid anytime the aircraft is not in motion. So any of the pre-flight checks, mandatory safety briefings, all the required stuff that is done on the ground prior to pushback, as well as the deplaning process.
The workers are getting support from the Conservatives, urging the government to amend the labor code to ensure flight attendants are paid for every minute they're required to be at work from check-in to sign-off. Last year, Air Canada generated operating revenues of more than $22 billion. Thousands of passengers could be impacted if a deal is not reached by August 16th.
This will be a test for the Carney government to see whether they have the intestinal fortitude to let labor relations work its way through this process.
Even though Abraham has been planning his trip for months, he doesn't support government intervention, but does support fair wages for workers.
Being paid for your hours on the job, that I think is a no-brainer. I can't possibly understand why a company wouldn't do that.
In a previous statement, Air Canada said it was committed to reaching a fair and equitable contract with its flight attendants. Both sides returned to the bargaining table on Friday. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
In the U.S., 5 soldiers were wounded when a colleague opened fire at an Army base in Georgia today.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team.
The injured soldiers are stable and are expected to recover. Law enforcement was dispatched to a combat team complex at Fort Stewart shortly before 11 a.m. The suspect opened fire where he worked and was quickly tackled by other troops. Officials have not speculated on a motive. The base is home to thousands of soldiers and family members. The Army is investigating.
In Japan, the victims of the atomic bomb attack on Hiroshima were remembered today. A memorial ceremony was held on the 80th anniversary of the attack. The United States dropped a nuclear bomb on this day in 1945. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on the nearby city of Nagasaki. A total of more than 200,000 people were killed in the blast and related radiation sickness.
One of the world's most active volcanoes is at it again. Hawaii's Mount Kilauea is erupting for the 30th time this year. The latest episode started this morning, spewing lava from the north vent of a crater. Nearby residents are being warned to beware of volcanic gas and wind-blown volcanic glass. The mountain is located at Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island. It has been erupting intermittently since December 23, 2024. This year, each eruption cycle has lasted between 13 hours and 8 days.
An NHL player will have quite a story to tell his teammates when training camp opens next month. Seattle Kraken forward John Hayden and the team's mascot had a close encounter with some local wildlife while doing a promotional video in Alaska.
While we were fishing, we had a pretty close call with a couple bears. Got a bear.
That is frightening. Hayden and the mascot were in a national park when a bear approached. They quickly decided the best course of action would be to return to shore along with the film crew. Grizzlies are common in the area and are used to seeing humans, and organizers had hired guides for safety. Still, Hayden called it a close call. The player and the mascot were on the trip in June to promote youth hockey.
From Hollywood to Mississauga, rapper Machine Gun Kelly is hosting a meet and greet at Square One Shopping Center. We'll hear from the excited fans lining up to meet the singer-songwriter.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, there are major changes coming to one of Canada's most popular loyalty programs. Starting in the new year, Aeroplan members will earn points based on how much they spend instead of how far they fly. There will be pros and cons for most members. That story is just ahead.
No surprise, it's been relatively warm, but we're going to see a bit of a trend roll in just in time for the weekend, taking us well above the seasonal average. We should be around 26. We're climbing back into the 30s. So looking ahead to tomorrow, you want to spend some time outside, you'll need a little extra hydration, and we're still contending with smoke and a very high UV index. Lots going on. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, and stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Welcome back. Well, there are about 9 million Aeroplan members in Canada, and if you're one of them, you should know changes are coming to how you earn rewards.
Aeroplan announced starting in the new year, members will earn points based on dollars spent rather than distance flown. Pat Foran has the details on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Raheem. The changes could be good or bad for you depending on how you travel and where you go. Aeroplan wants to reward flyers who book more expensive fares, which means if you book cheaper flights, you may not get as many points as you used to. Starting on January 1st, Aeroplan will overhaul the way its members earn points, and the biggest change means you'll earn based on how much you spend instead of how far you go. Phil McCulley is a frequent flyer and has been an Aeroplan member for the past 20 years. He's concerned business travelers buying more expensive tickets will see the greatest benefits.
But it absolutely benefits people who travel on the max fare class. So people who fly business everywhere are disproportionately benefiting from this program than people who travel, let's say, like a lower fare class.
The majority of our members are going to be better off than they were before.
Air Canada says the changes to the loyalty program will benefit those who engage with the airline and its partners the most. Starting in the new year, you'll earn 1 Aeroplan point per dollar spent. In two examples on Air Canada's website, it states if you book a flight between Toronto and Montreal with a base fare of $427, you'll earn 427 Aeroplan points. In another example, if you booked a round trip from Montreal to Paris and the base fare is $1,500, under the current plan you would receive almost 7,000 points, but under the new plan you'll receive 1,500 Aeroplan points. The more you pay, the more points you'll get.
It can't be seen as a positive, but it can't be seen as negative either. It really comes down to the individual, whether these changes are good for you or not.
Rewards Canada, a website that studies loyalty programs, says those who pay more for expensive flights will achieve elite status faster and rack up more points than those who are searching for bargains.
The more you spend with the airline, the more you're going to be rewarded, whether it's elite status or with points earning as well.
The changes are also more in line with other airlines that have also moved to revenue-based models. And Air Canada says the changes are designed to better recognize Aeroplan members who spend more and travel more with Air Canada. Also, the higher your status level with Aeroplan, the faster your points will add up. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, we've got sun and increasing heat as we head into the back half of the week. But boy, this summer is proving to be steamy and smoky. The sky, doesn't it look a little bit pinky or orange?
A haze, an orange haze.
I feel bad for those who are in summer camps right now because I have a little cousin who's in nature camp right now, and they're being told that we can't go out as much as we want to. Sometimes they're seeking shade, and it's the polar opposite in terms of we don't want to complain too much in terms of the heat because, you know, the cold's going to be here soon enough. But right now, it's not great for a lot of the younger kids.
It's tough, and a lot of kids who play sports in the evenings, some of those are being canceled, practices or games. So it really is challenging. There is some good news heading into the weekend. We do get some reprieve. Wind direction will change. We'll get a little bit of a break. Unfortunately, if you're traveling anywhere east, you're going to be dealing with that smoke somewhere else. But we have seen the smoke add that film, that layer to the sky over the past few days, and that really hasn't changed at all. We have a shot from our chopper, and it really isn't too much of a break, at least for today. So if you were outside, you definitely noticed it. It would have been a brilliantly blue sky type of day, but definitely not in a shot like this. So again, if you have breathing challenges, COPD, asthma, maybe you are a camp counselor, you have kids in camp, it would have been really, really challenging. Now, temperature-wise, as we step in towards the next few days, it gets hotter, but the sky also clears up. Now, we're sitting at about 27, still feels like 32, quite warm. And this heat is really overtaking the entire province. We're actually warmer in extreme northern Ontario up towards Hudson Bay than we are here in the downtown core. Really and truly tonight, we don't lose much, if any, of that heat. We'll sit at 20 degrees. We should be at 17, but it will still feel into the kind of mid to upper 20 range overnight, so there really isn't much of a break. Into the day tomorrow, pretty seasonal across the board. We're still dealing with a humidex. Not as bad as it was today, but it's still there, and so is all of that haze. Again, it encompasses the entire province. As we head in towards the end of the week, we see the winds start to shift a little bit. That smoke will push its way in towards southern Quebec and a good portion of Atlantic Canada. So it doesn't really go away, it just moves. As we head through the next couple of days, we don't see much in the way of any really consistent widespread shower activity. So if your grass is kind of dry, if you're a farmer producer at all, it might be a little challenging depending on how resistant your plants are to drought. As we head in towards the rest of our evening, some pop-up showers through Owen Sound. Again, another dose for Niagara Falls, but really we stay clear in the GTA through tonight and into almost the rest of the next 7 days. It would be a really sunny day, start to finish tomorrow, but again, we're dealing with that haze out there, so just keep that in mind. Again, if you work outdoors, breaks in the shade and maybe a mask if it's helpful, depending on your breathing challenges. As we head in towards your Friday morning, again, a couple of spots of rain a little bit further north, but for the most part, we are clear here in the city, start to finish. And then we step into the weekend where we start to tiptoe in towards heat warning criteria. So for heat warning criteria, it depends on where you are in the province. For us here in the GTA, a good portion of southern Ontario, it's 2 or more days at 31 or higher, or when you have humidex values at 40 or higher, or when you have overnight lows at 20 or higher. So essentially, all of those things, that is what we have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. As we head into the day tomorrow, it is very seasonal, but again, we're dealing with all that haze out there, so you kind of lose that brilliant blue sky that we would have had. Stepping into Friday, hot and humid, it will feel into the mid-30s, and then those humidex values, so your Saturday and Sunday, feels like 39, feels like 40. So yes, we want to get out and enjoy all these summer weekends that we have, but you really have to do it safely. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't step into, again, that heat warning criteria Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. As we head in towards the kind of beginning and middle of next week, there really isn't much of a reprieve. We just drop out of that heat warning criteria, but we're still in the upper 20s, low 30s with the humidex value still feeling 35 to 40. So enjoy your summer, but you got to do it safely. Check in on the people around you. Hopefully this helps you plan. Michelle, I'll send things back over to you.
It sure does. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Also tonight, a new deal in the works for Ontario doctors, the new compensation coming down the pipeline, and the potential for it to attract more family physicians. There are signs of optimism tonight. The province and Ontario doctors will soon be able to reach a new compensation deal.
The health minister isn't sharing any details, but the Ontario Medical Association is hopeful it could improve access to family doctors in the province. We get more from our health reporter, Pauline Chan.
We've been working on the deal for more than a year with the government to really ensure that every Ontarian has a family doctor.
OMA CEO Kimberly Moran says agreement has been reached on some key issues, particularly the heavy administrative workload carried by comprehensive family care practitioners.
It's grown dramatically in the last number of years, and that it wasn't compensated for properly. And so to understand what clinical administration is, it could be, for example, that a family doctor needs to refer you for knee surgery. But they want to make sure that they want to refer you to a surgeon that specializes in the problem that you have.
Under the new agreement called FHO+, doctors would be able to bill for tasks such as doing patients' charts, time spent reviewing test results, and filling out various forms. But will more money for doctors mean more doctors for the 2 million Ontario residents currently without primary care? Moran says of the 15,000 Ontario physicians trained in family medicine, only 9,000 currently work full-time in their specialty. The rest work in areas like emergency medicine.
The government is working on a number of initiatives that will help retain and attract family doctors.
Today, Health Minister Sylvia Jones refused to reveal any more details about the deal with the OMA.
What I will tell you is that we have seen some very positive movement in terms of working with the OMA and other partners to make sure that as we expand our primary care opportunities, the physicians are well respected and get appropriate compensation for that.
There's just a couple of remaining items that the arbitration board is going to decide on, and we're expecting to hear back from them in the fall.
Moran hopes the new deal will encourage more student doctors to choose family practice as their specialty. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new study suggests kids and young adults who spend too much time staring at screens have a greater chance of developing cardiovascular diseases. Danish researchers tracked the screen and sleep habits of more than 1,010 and 18-year-olds. They found those who spend excessive hours in front of electronic devices were at higher risk for health issues such as high blood pressure and high cholesterol, as well as diabetes and insulin resistance. Their analysis found that each additional hour of daily screen time increased the risk of disease.
Tourism in Toronto appears to be recouping some losses we saw in the first quarter of the year, but is still down from 2024 amid economic and geopolitical uncertainty. Destination Toronto says visitors coming to the city was down 4% on a year-over-year basis from January to March. However, that is typically a slow period in tourism, and the warmer weather seems to have helped the industry. In June, visitor arrivals was just 2% lower, and it appears the next couple of months could be even better.
Tourism is a huge driver of economic impact in Toronto. You know, we're looking at, I'd say easily 70,000 jobs that are directly related to the tourism industry here in the city. Last year, when we looked at the level of visitor spending, it was at a record level. We had almost 9 million overnight visitors spend $9 billion. And so, that $9 billion of visitor spending, gets amplified into a further $13 billion worth of economic impact.
As of July, advanced bookings for hotels in August and September were up about 10%.
A high-profile tourist visited Mississauga today, much to the delight of fans.
American rapper and singer-songwriter Machine Gun Kelly held a meet and greet at Square One's Sunrise Records this afternoon. It's all part of a promotion for the artist's latest album. CTV's Andrea Case was there.
The artist formerly known as Machine Gun Kelly, now MGK, arrived at Square One Mall's newly opened Sunrise Record Store for a meet and greet. And fans like Ottawa's Cameron Hurlbut could barely contain themselves.
I'm seeing a lot of tears. Are you okay right now?
I'm like very excited that I met him.
Nice
to meet you. Oh my God!
This is the only in-store appearance in Canada, just days before the rapper, punk pop musician released his 7th album called Lost Americana.
I'm kind of like a newer fan, but like I love his music. He's like a big inspiration to me. So
Mind-blowing, because he's one of the best artists around. He's one of the best people. Like, who else does this for their fans?
Is this a future fan of MGK?
Yes, it is. She's been listening to his music while she's been in the womb.
It's a whirlwind publicity tour. He was in New York this morning, Mississauga this afternoon, and Toronto's Horseshoe Tavern tonight for a free concert. Then it's back home to Cleveland, where the city whose motto is progress and prosperity will celebrate MGK all weekend long. Lost Americana will be released on Friday. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Canada's newest tennis ace is looking to rally behind her hometown advantage tonight. After the break, we'll get you ready for Victoria Mboko's match with a spot in the finals on the line.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Yeah, it's a little bit unsettling being in the neighborhood that has so many kids and young families walking around, but you know, it's a busy city and it happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Updating our top stories, 2 men are recovering in hospital after witnesses in North York say they heard a crash this afternoon. Police on the scene say the driver of a vehicle had been shot, and they say the driver of another vehicle was injured. 3 people in a third vehicle reportedly left the scene before police arrived.
The trauma itself, what she's dealing with right now, the children themselves, the trauma they're dealing with right now, and the fragility of their age as well, that they have to kind of process all this all by themselves. They don't even understand what's going on, but they know they're at risk.
A request to defer the deportation of a Kenyan reverend and her 2 children was denied today, and now they are being detained at a Canadian Border Services Agency office in Mississauga until tomorrow, when they must leave Canada. Rosalind Wenyeki says they were forced to flee persecution in Nairobi and have created a life in Toronto the past 5 years.
Things do change week over week. Buyer sentiment can change month over month.
Toronto saw the best July in 4 years when it comes to home sales. They rose 13% compared to June and nearly 11% compared to July last year. The average selling price was down 5.5% compared to a year ago to $1,050,000. There was an improvement in affordability due to lower trending prices and interest rates.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is up currently, sitting at 72.75 US. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 51.38 a barrel. And the TSX ended the day up 350 points to 27,920.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
A well-known accessories and cosmetics retailer will be filing for bankruptcy protection in Canada. The CEO of Claire's Holdings LLC says the move is being made because of increased competition, consumer spending trends, and the ongoing shift away from brick-and-mortar stores. The company has already filed for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. Claire's locations in North America will remain open during a process it says will help monetize its assets and allow it to explore strategic alternatives for the business. It has more than 2,700 stores in 17 countries.
A move by Canada Post is upsetting some customers in rural parts of the province. They've been told the flag on their mailbox that for decades signaled they had mail when it was up will no longer be raised. Canada Post says the flag was actually intended as a way to let the carrier know there was outgoing mail, not the other way around. CTV's Katie Griffin reports.
The postman comes, puts the mail inside, closes the door, and brings this up.
For many, that's the way it's been in rural areas for years. Not anymore.
Whether it's to save time or money, I'm not sure, but it's not doing the workers nor the corporation any good.
David Carrier received a letter from Canada Post indicating delivery agents would no longer raise the flag on mailboxes when mail is delivered.
And it seems a little bit odd that given it a time when Canada Post is struggling to survive and wanting large raises and wanting to gain more of the market share, that they're going to offer less service and less convenience to the public when they deliver their mail.
A resident in Somerstown near Cornwall received this handwritten note from a carrier saying they were no longer allowed to raise the flag. So sorry, please check box regularly. In a letter to rural customers, Canada Post said after a review it was determined that the purpose of the signal device was for the customer to indicate to the delivery agent that there was outgoing mail. Canada Post writes in a statement that the flag is not meant to inform customers mail is in the mailbox. It acknowledged some do it as a courtesy, but that it is not a national delivery process. For Carrier, it doesn't make sense.
I've spent my whole life living rurally, and I don't know of very many people who put mail outgoing and use that indicator. But a lot of people here have a half-a-mile laneway, and they look out, they don't see a flag, they don't go out. If they see the flag, they go out. So a lot of these people are older, and it takes some effort to go out and get that mail.
Katie Griffin, CTV News.
Victoria Mboko is continuing her remarkable run at the National Bank Open tonight. The 18-year-old Torontonian is one win away from playing in the final. The teen sensation is squaring off against 9th seed Elena Rybakina this evening in the semis in Montreal. Mboko was only the third wildcard player to reach the Canadian semifinals. She has captured the hearts and full attention of tennis fans in this country. And today, her childhood coach says he sees a bright future ahead for the young phenom.
She's playing the same way she was playing when she was 12. She has a tremendous forehand and a tremendous serve. The question will be how they manage her going forward, because now there's so much interest and so much money involved, agents, families, everything else. You know, the question will be, will they add to her game, which she'll need a game, a plan B and a plan C, which comes with variation. And if she does that, she could definitely be #1 in the world. If not, at the worst, she'll be a top 10 player.
Mboko has dropped just one set all tournament and will crack the WTA's top 50 by week's end. Clara Towson plays Naomi Osaka in the other women's semifinal tonight. The winners meet tomorrow in the championship match.
To baseball, and the Toronto Blue Jays were looking for a sweep in Colorado this afternoon.
2-0. Ripped up the middle into center. Guerrero coming home right behind him. Ty France sprinting into the plate as the throw's cut off. A 2-run single off the bench for Addison Barger. And the Blue Jays are at double digits for the third straight game.
It was another offensive outburst for Toronto, who beat the Rockies 20-1 in the series finale. The AL leading Jays are now 3.5 games up on Boston and 6.5 ahead of the Yankees. Toronto begins a 3-game set against the Dodgers on Friday.
Meanwhile, Jen Powell will be the first woman to umpire in a regular season Major League Baseball game. She's scheduled to work the bases during Saturday's doubleheader between Miami and Atlanta and will be behind the plate for Sunday's game. The 48-year-old from New Jersey worked spring training games in 2024 and this year.
Just ahead, extinct in the wild, but with international efforts, their population is growing. 4 new, rare, and rambunctious lion cubs make their debut.
Tonight, pushback over Aeroplan's travel loyalty program.
I think this change is very short-sighted.
Plus, what's delaying a new deal with Air Canada flight attendants and how summer vacation plans could change. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Tomorrow, a Florida hospital bill shocker.
$300,000 to $400,000.
A travel insurance claim denied.
I was heartbroken and astonished.
Why a GTA senior thought she was covered. Tomorrow on CTV News at 6.
There is much excitement at a zoo in the Czech Republic following the arrival of some very special new additions.
Four Barbary lion cubs have been born, a species that is extinct in the wild. The three females and one male are spending most of their time with their mother and father right now, but the family group will be broken up soon. In fact, the zoo is part of an international endangered species program, so that means these cubs are going to be sent to other participating parks. Experts say the births of these young cats are crucial to contributing to a small surviving population of this rare lion. Fewer than 200 are estimated to live in captivity today, just 200, and now 4 more.
Nice.
Baby animals are so cute.
I know, eh?
Always love ending on a nice, fuzzy, adorable note.
And hopefully the forecast also gives you those warm and fuzzy feelings, depending on how you like your forecast. Obviously, we're still dealing with wildfire smoke. That's not going to change until we get in towards the weekend, but for now, at least temperature-wise, we're close to the seasonal mark. If you're heading out this evening, do be mindful of the fact that we're still dealing with some wildfire smoke, but overall, at least the GTA staying relatively dry. 27 feeling like 32 through Pearson, and we're not holding on to too much crazy heat until we get in towards your Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Those temperatures put us into heat warning criteria, so it is going to be a hot and humid weekend with humid X values 39 and 40. So yes, enjoy your weekends, but do it safely.
It is still summer and there is lots left. Thank you so much. Yes, that's it for us. But be sure to join Marcia McMillan tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.
It was a well-timed wave. I was just like, yeah.